As soon as it turns red, yay! It's
Yeah,
live.
we are
Cool.
live.
We're on. So there's always a delay. We'll just go ahead and get started here.
Yeah.
Our topic today, the title of the topic anyway, and I know we're going to kind of maybe take this in a couple of directions or whatever, but confidence comes from clients, not certifications. That's kind of the basis or the premise where we're going to get started with our discussion topic today.
Yeah. And there's kind of a subtext to that, which, as you know, that we put out there, and this is what we want to chat about today with our wonderful guest, Chazz, is that this idea of your beliefs and your confidence are built once you kind of put your foot, not your foot, but you dive in, not before. And, the core premise behind this, and of course, this was in the description to invite you to this live, is waiting to feel confident is the surest way to stay stuck. Confidence doesn't come from theory. It comes from showing up, serving real people, having real conversations, and proving to yourself every day that you're ready. And I just want to share a little story that came to me this morning, just kind of before we came onto the call. And, you know me, I love stories. I love metaphors. I love, examples like that. And it reminds me of the idea of, you go to the pool or you go to the lake or you go to the ocean, and maybe, you go down and you kind of you see people in frolicking around, and it's really hot. Like you're sweating and you're going, oh, I need to cool down. So you put your toe in the water, maybe you put your foot in the water, and of course you're steaming hot. So the water feels cold and you go, ooh, but you make that first judgment call and you kind of go, you know what? It feels cool, but it's not freezing. Like I'm not walking away from this. And you kind of suck it up and you hold your breath and you dive in. And then next thing you know, you're floating around in the pool, or you're floating around in the lake, or you're floating around in the ocean, and you're going, man, that feels better. I feel so good. And it's such a great metaphor, because guess what happens? The next time you hot and you're sweaty and you're standing at the edge of the pool, do you go, well, I've done this before, no problem. I have no intrepidation. No, you feel the same things over and over again, right? Through your whole life. Like you can remember these experiences when you were a child, and you can also remember them right up to maybe last weekend, or for me yesterday, where you had that experience. So, what's that all about? That idea of taking action, of just diving in, and even though you're rigid and you're tight, and you're holding your body tight, you're holding your breath, when you dive in, you go, hey, you know what? That's not nearly what I anticipated. And it's actually very refreshing. There's a benefit on the other side. So I think that's a great metaphor for business and for having conversations is, yeah, it's uncomfortable. That great book, I can't remember who wrote it. I got to look it up. It's on my library. I'm not at home right now, but at my home office, but feel the fear and do it anyways. Such a great moniker, right? Yeah. So anyhow, thoughts. I know I can dominate and ramble on. So I just wanted to share that story because it came to mind.
Yeah. Chazz, you have any experience around that for yourself?
Oh, 100%. I feel the fear or was it? I forgot who. I actually have that book in terms of feel the fear and do it anyway. But it's a great book. But 100%. I mean, I think I went through your guys' program, and I thought it was an excellent program on trying to understand sort of your minimal viable audience, your compelling offer. Like one of the things I had to do was I thought I knew who I was going to speak to, or I thought I knew who I was going to coach. But it's not until you have like these deep conversations with people, when you actually talk to people and you hear from them, you make no assumptions, and you're just open and you're able to hear from them. And that's one of the things I had to do, was get rid of the fear of what you think you should be doing, go to the customer and who you're serving, hear from them, and then be able to kind of pull those metrics in and kind of say, these are the problems that they're going through. Are you going to bring any solutions to help with that? And I think overcoming that fear of talking to your ideal customer, or figuring out who your ideal customer is, really like the biggest step, because what I got was confirmation. And you're not able to get that confirmation if you're behind the keyboard and not reaching out to people and talking to people. So yeah, you have to, and what's the saying, like, fear is at the door, and then you open it and then realize there was no fear at all, and you just walk right through. That's really what happens. There's no fear at all. Fear is a sort of this imaginary thing, and then once you open the door, you just walk right through.
Love that. It's like when you dive in the water, it evaporates immediately. That you realize the fear was non-existent in the first place. But it doesn't mean you don't have to go through it. Doesn't mean don't have to stuff yourself through it. Yeah.
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 I know I talk to a lot of coaches, and in fact, I've had some conversations just this week actually with people who are, they're working on building out their programs, but they don't have clients, and I'm kind of like, well, how do you know your program you're going to spend all this time working on that, but how do you know that's actually going to be the thing that they want? Right. So actually, like you're saying, Chazz, you got to talk to people. You got to find out if you're on the right track or if you're not on the right track, and kind of adjust as you go. And we talk about, confidence comes from clients, working with people, speaking with people. Let's take off the working with people first. Let's just find out who are these people? What do they need? Right. And then start to build that out. But kind of the cart before the horses we talk about quite a bit. So
how about, Jamie, like a reframe of that? And instead of confidence comes from clients, how about confidence comes from conversations?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, confidence comes from conversation. I know, Chazz, that was big for you. I remember early on when you were having those initial conversations and having those wow moments. It's pretty cool, that experience. I got another metaphor that's coming to mind. It's like dating, or finding your perfect partner. You could sit and obviously there's a lot of people that are like cloister themselves in their apartment or whatever, and they're envisioning, this is what this person has to look like. This is how old they have to be. This is their personality. And they just sit there and they build it over and over and over. And before they know it, they've got 100, different points on a list. But until you step out, until you go to an event, until you go to a mixer, until you go to a party or something, or until you go on a blind date, you have no idea if that's reality or not. And I laugh. I think about a friend of mine who had this kind of image of his future partner, his spouse, and he dated, a few gals that fit that image, if you will. And then he ends up marrying a gal that doesn't, nothing like what he, like he had this image of somebody petite. His wife is as tall as he is, and they're both tall. He had this image of a dark-haired, kind of alluring, seductive kind of gal that would come from a foreign country. Ends up with a white, Anglo-Saxon gal, like everything that he had done. But had he not stepped out, and started to meet people, he wouldn't have fallen in love with her and gone, wow, I just, I'm head over heels. And they've been married now for, I think it's 32 years or something. Like it's just so cool to think of that and how we need to step out and get that clarification, like you said. Can't remember the word you used, but verification, I think you used, Chazz.
Confirmation.
Yeah, confirmation. Yeah.
Lots
of
like riding a bicycle and kind of finding your balance, right? And so you're kind of waiting until you get that balance before you're like, but it's that forward momentum of just doing it, and then the balance kind of shows up just as a result, just kind of moving forward.
Yeah, that's true. I think when I first started reaching out to potential, clients, and these were just conversations, I was a little nervous at first, but then I started to realize, oh my goodness, the type of work that I do is so needed, is so important. And the only way that you're able to sort of recognize that is to talk to people. And so for me, since I'm in sort of the personal development space as it relates to burnout and resilience and wellness, I think we all know how important it is, but it's not until you hear these amazing stories or terrible stories of some of the things that people have gone through, where you're able to say, okay, this is what they've went through. Here's my solution. And you have to overcome that fear of talking to people to not only recognize sort of what your solution is to help those people, but also help you realize that, as a coach, you're also valuable and you need to hear it from people that you're serving. And the only way to do that is to overcome the fear of talking to people and just putting yourself out there. So that was sort of the realization for me. It's just further confirmation to realize as a coach, you are extremely valuable and you should continue to hear from customers to refine, to, change up your language, to come up with a program to provide further services to people because they need it. They absolutely need it. And you are valued as a coach.
Yeah.
So true. And so important is that we just did our 5-day map last week, and that concept that you just talked about, Chazz, is the idea of you have to have that self-belief, and you have to have the belief in your service, like what you're doing. It's be like a lifeguard, holding onto the ring while somebody's drowning and going, well, I'm not sure if this is the right ring. I don't know if they like the color, maybe it's too small and they're too big and they'll just drown anyway. So maybe I'll just hold on to it for a while longer. Because I don't want to throw it, because God forbid I was wrong. Then they'll blame me, right? It's craziness. It's insanity. Where, like you're saying, there's tons of people out there that are looking, throw me the life ring. But often we're throwing the life ring at the wrong people. We're walking around the pool deck. Forgive me for being totally metaphor today. I don't know what it is. But it's like you're walking around the pool deck and you're throwing this life ring at people who are sunbathing, and they're getting hit and they're going, what are you doing that for? And then we get mad at them. We go, why don't they get it? Why don't they take my life ring? I've been throwing this at people all day long. Well, what about the poor guy in the pool who's drowning? Maybe you need to first look to the pool, like you were saying, your minimum viable audience, and deciding, well, who really needs this? And part of that comes from asking, right? From asking around. Hey, is anybody drowning?
Right.
Yeah.
So having those conversations. Yeah. Go ahead, Chazz.
And there tends to be some people drowning, but the only way to know is if you just start talking to people. I remember when, I was coming through your program, and I think I was at the step where I needed to start reaching out to people and talking to people on LinkedIn through messaging. And then all of a sudden people started booking these calls. And I'm like, wait a minute. I was a little nervous, but then I started hopping on these calls. I mean, these were people all over the country, just interested in learning more about what I had to offer, but just also interested in just having a conversation.
Yeah.
And I was just amazed at the potential in terms of what I could offer and to help to people, but I wasn't on the call to just say, hey, here's how I can help. I was really listening to their stories.
Yeah.
And as you start to listen to people's stories, you start to recognize as a coach, man, there's something here. And that actually helped further refine sort of the language I was going to use.
Yeah.
The positioning, right? You guys really helped me out on articulating my position. And then also recognizing what are the huge pain points that some of these customers are having. Yeah. And I found that a lot of my customers, they're high achievers. They like to work really hard, but there's not a lot of balance. They don't want to lose their momentum, and they also feel guilty for resting. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, those two last ones, wow. I was not able to articulate that in the way that I was just now without talking to people and doing these consistent surveys on LinkedIn and on Instagram. So the fact that I'm able to communicate that in a way where I'm confident, and I know that at least 60 to 70% of people out there are dealing with these issues, makes me realize I have things that I can contribute, and that also builds my confidence. So this is when we're talking about confidence and building up that, knowing who you're targeting, how you can articulate your message in a way that meets them where they are, and then also feeling confident and knowing that you are valued as a coach. So,
yeah. And of course, full loop, that confidence doesn't come from more research online. It doesn't come from reading more books. It doesn't come from, just being in an isolated state. As you said, it comes from having the conversation, because that's what, full circle, that's what builds the confidence. Yeah, I've got something to give. Oh, wow, I could help this person. Oh, this is somebody that, I really would like to work with. So that what Eleanor Roosevelt, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So that's slowing down. And yet, what do we see over and over again? We get bombarded on social media. We get bombarded in our email boxes. It's here, so buy this, buy this, buy this. It's this old school thinking that doesn't work in today's world. It just offends people. So it's that idea of, hey, let's have a conversation. I want to know about you. Starting there. And that idea of slowing down, stop being so anxious, stop being so frenetic, stop being so desperate, and just take time to have the conversation. And then from that, we say, slow down in order to speed up. And inevitably you will, right? Just 3 conversations, and all of a sudden your ability to converse, your ability to identify who needs your help, as opposed to pushing yourself on somebody, becomes so much clearer.
Yeah, when you're not working just out of theory of what you think somebody could need or want, but actually hearing it and putting it into play. I love that you did some polls and surveys and the market research. We have a lot of clients actually who say to us, I got my first client just from doing some conversations to find out where their pain points are. And it wasn't a sales call. It's not intended to be. And we hear that over and over again. We've heard that a lot. Thank you, Chazz, for sharing that. By the way, we're not paying Chazz to tout our program. But
no, you're not. No, you're not.
We didn't even ask him to. So I want to make sure that we say that to anybody who's listening. But we really appreciate that that you've given us some nice feedback on your
and you've gotten value, which is the most important thing, from our standpoint, is that validates that, we're helping, we're serving, we're giving you tools.
Yeah, this is exactly an example of that, right? In motion, confidence and just in working with people and knowing that what you're providing is providing them what they were looking for. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
After the fact, here we are talking about it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a while since it's been a couple months since the program has ended, but I'm still talking to clients that, were interested in the surveys, interested in the conversation. I'm still working with them. Some of them are testing out my 90-day Rise and Reclaim blueprint to help them rise out of burnout and reclaim their life and reclaim their energy. So some of them are still interested in providing me feedback. I've had people, when we've had conversations, again, I'm not selling anything. I'm just hearing their story. They follow up in an email. They said, that was a great conversation. I'm going to purchase your book. Then they purchased the book and my book, and they post it online. So both of you are absolutely right. I think a lot of people, especially when you need a solution and you need help, one of the things that I've started to realize, and I think coaches mostly know this, is the people that need help, they want somebody to listen to them. And ironically, when you open up that space to allow somebody to listen to you, they're actually interested more in your services because you actually get the sense that they do care. So that goes back to that Roosevelt quote, right?
Yeah.
And I think, having conversations with potential clients, with potential customers, just really opens up that door. It gives confirmation to the other person, but also confirmation to you.
Yeah. So it's stop selling and start building relationships.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's fear behind that. And we need to realize, it's the same as diving into the water. As soon as maybe if you're listening to this or live, or you're with us, or even if you see this afterwards, you might be thinking, oh, like that. I just tighten up. I tighten up when I hear you say that. I don't want to build a relationship. So I just want to sell people my stuff. Well, it does. Well, the world doesn't work that way. The joy of life comes through relationship. We're human beings, and that's when we recognize that and stop selling and start serving, start building relationships. That's when we start to experience joy in our lives and really start to resonate.
I just want to say something real quick before I forget.
Yeah.
Because I think this will hit on the head with the listeners. Initially, when I started reaching out, I did have sort of that ball of energy of nervousness and just, scared.
Yeah.
And one of the things I really just sat with is just listen, just get curious. Get curious about people. Ask questions. Just learn. And as you begin to learn, you get happier. You start to want to learn more. And then all of a sudden, sort of the fear and the nervous energy begins to dissipate.
Yeah.
And then you're almost sort of carried to feeling better about the process. And then each time it got easier and easier with those new additional phone calls or Zoom sessions. So that's just what I wanted to share with folks. If you do feel this nervousness around reaching out to people, is just get super curious, just understand your audience, understand the person, ask great questions. And all of a sudden that energy of nervousness really just dissipates.
I love that word, that idea, and even the feeling that it generates, but that whole idea of curiosity, like step out of yourself, just stop pushing, stop selling, stop trying to push anything on anybody, and just take on that, almost that childlike curiosity, and to get into that space. And if you can get into that headspace and practice that, then then it becomes fun. Oh, I really want to know about you. I want to know what's going on in your world. I want to know, like that idea of, we often use it in marketing lingo, the pain point. But I think, people, this is where they get off track, is they tend to think of, oh my God, they think of it as a weapon. Like, oh, I've got to exploit the vulnerability. I got to find the pain point, and I want to find it secretly so they don't know that I know. And then I can attack it, and I can agitate it, and I can do all this crap, right? That we read in these marketing and sales books. And we need to kind of turn that on its head and take that childlike curiosity, like you just talked about, that word curiosity, Chazz, and kind of go, well, no, the reason I want to know about your pain is because I want to serve. Like, people don't want solutions to stuff that isn't hurting, right? Right? And they need that validation that, oh, my pain is real. I'm not the only one. Oh, I'm suffering in silence, and this person's finally listening. Like, I've been suffering with this for years, but I haven't told anybody because it's not right. I got to button up my shirt. I got to be together. God forbid I would share my emotions. And here you are as that person that's genuinely curious with good questions. And even I'll take the word good out of it, just with questions, just stumble through some questions like a little kid would, why, how come, what's going on there? Oh, really? Where do you hurt? Just being curious that way. And that to me is a gift, because we're in such a kind of an image oriented place in society and in the world, where it's all about what you project to the world. But behind that are the feelings, behind that are the emotions. And the more projection out there, the more, oh, look at my watch, look at my car, look at how many followers I have on Facebook, all of that. I'm an influencer. I think the more pain there is underneath that, because if we really dive down and we get below the surface, there's often that child who's striving for something, for meaning, for attention, to be heard. And I think that's the greatest gift. And that's, to me, what you're talking about too, Chazz, that's the greatest validation and confidence booster in saying, as a coach, you have that. And believe me, it's a unique ability. We like to think that, oh, anybody could coach. All they need to do is just take the 6-week certification course. No, it's a unique quality. And those people who can really coach and really serve are unique individuals, because they have that gift of being able to listen, of helping people feel heard and seen, and guiding them that way. So that, that bolsters that confidence. And I am that person. I am that coach. I am, somebody that can make a difference in somebody's life, in somebody's world.
It can also validate your toolbox, if you will, right? So it either validates that certification or validates some piece of maybe your program or whatever, but it can also help you to sharpen what tools you might need to fill into your toolbox so that you can help them. You might not have the answer to what they're looking for, but it'll start you thinking, how can I help this person to get that? So I'm going to add that layer into, because if this person has that going on, my potential other clients probably have that going on too. And so the more that you just go through that process of figuring that, or finding that stuff out and surfacing it, that's going to help to inform your program. So all these kind of coaches who are coaching people to, oh, you just need the right funnel, that's just hands off. That's like, I just hope people just go and swipe their debit card on my website and buy this thing and buy my program, and you don't even know that people want it. So that's been the problem. And it breaks my heart that coaches don't really tend to see that. It's not a funnel that's going to solve it. A funnel will only work if you've got something that's validated, but you've got to talk to people. There are people out there building millions of dollars on funnels. Those are the people running these Facebook ads offering, $10.99 or $9.97 for their whatever. And they're just doing that in volume, but they don't care. They don't care about you.
Yeah. And often they started somewhere else. It's like that, 10 years to be an overnight success. There was a great article. I read it just a couple of days ago on LinkedIn, and it was about, I think it was about tequila or vodka or something. I think it was tequila or whatever, but it was it was about, there's something like 85 or 185 brands have gone bankrupt. And what they talked about was everybody saw George Clooney, they saw Ryan Reynolds and everything, like get their name, you know, like, oh, now I'm going to be a booze connoisseur. And what they thought was, oh, I'll just, you know, I'm known, I'm an influencer, I'll just get my, and it was kind of, the article too was about the death of the influencer, is I'll just put my name on it and then everybody will buy it. But you know what? Consumers are getting wise to that. And they talked about like Clooney, I think they said that they did 6 years of testing and research and refining the product out there in the marketplace before they ever even mentioned he was involved. And then everybody else swoops in and goes, oh, well, you know, I'm going to go to some crappy little village where they're making tequila and I'm going to buy up their stock and I'll put my name on it and everybody knows my name and they'll buy my tequila. And then I'll be, you know, I'll make $1 billion off it like Clooney did. No, it didn't work because they didn't put in the hard work, which was the getting to know, you know, the product, getting to know the audience, what they wanted from the product and so on and so forth. So it just comes back to that. What both of you are saying is that slowing down, you know, business isn't a get rich quick scheme. Coaching isn't a get rich quick scheme. And it's also not a place to push yourself on other people, push your ideas on other people. It's a place to get to know people and to serve them.
Love that.
Yeah. Cool story. And recent post on LinkedIn. I think I shared it. So look at my profile. It's there. It's probably the last thing that I shared as a post because I thought it was absolutely brilliant how it brought that out.
Yeah. Chazz, thank you so much for sharing your experience through the program and like sharing what you got from that and how you've been able to serve your clients at a higher level. Very cool.
Yeah.
I'm pleased to hear all that. Yeah.
It's been a fun journey, still learning, but I feel like, you know, same thing that we're talking about here, like building that confidence to say that you have something that you can offer to people. And the only way that you know that is to talk to them. And then you start to sort of get into the mode of doing that. So, and I do like that article, Mark, that's a really good sort of, you know, high level understanding. Like, listen, I mean, you really have to do trial by fire. You have to put yourself out there. You have to understand the target market and your customers. You can't just assume you attach your name to a certain product and think it's just going to sell. The product has to be good. It has to service people. It has to give people what they need and make sure that they alleviate their pain points. So it's the dirty work. But the cool part is once the dirty work is done, you know, there's a little bit of refinement, but you know, you really start to sort of, you're able to have something that you can provide to people, but also more on a sustainable basis. But you got to do sort of the initial groundwork of a house first. You got to build the structure of the house.
Yeah.
And what I've seen, and actually what I've did in my own life is I've got something. I need to give it to people. Wait a minute. How do you know that's what they need, Chazz? How do you know that's what they need? You need to ask them what they need. How do they feel? What are their pain points? As opposed to making all of the assumptions as a coach that, you know, you do just off of a couple of clients. You need to sort of cast a wide net and really discover and lean in on that. So,
or cast a wide net, but within your minimum viable audience, at least to start, right?
Yes.
So that's
and also it's, you know, it's like what you said there, coming back to the pool metaphor, is when you're in the water, you know, you kind of float around and you go, oh, this is pretty nice. I'm cooled down now and everything. But then, you know, eventually maybe you get chilled a little bit or it's just time to get out of the water. And then you realize I'm going to be jumping back in the water again at some point in time. It's not a one-time deal. So this idea of perpetual improvement and that, you know, we go through, everybody likes to think that, you know, business is kind of a straight line. Either I'm going to get to the top and I'm a winner. And if I don't get there, then I'm a loser, you know, like there's some sort of magical destination. But in fact, you know, business and life is a series of ups and downs. So it's a series of sprints and then a series of walks. And if you recognize that too and start to get a sense of the rhythm of your business too, is saying, man, I worked hard. I put my brain into this. I put my soul on the line. I had this conversation. I worked really hard for, 3 months, 6 months. And then now I got a client or two. I'm feeling good, but to recognize that now it's time to kind of rest, learn a little bit more, and then take the next sprint, and think of it as a series of sprints within a series of rest periods where you're resting and you're recreating, so you're letting your brain, you're letting your experiences help you set up for the next sprint, and that it never ends. And that's the joy of it. I mean, that's the joy of being a coach, is always the next challenge. That, we don't want it to be boring. We don't go, oh yeah, I've been doing this for years. It's always the same paycheck, same number of clients, same people, same script that I go through, ask questions, yada, 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 follow whatever I was taught. Nobody wants that. We all want life to feel like there's movement, like we're growing. And that's the reason we're coaches, is because we believe so much in growth, and we want to help other people grow and join us. So it's that idea of join me in this wonderful life of perpetual growth as a human being, and as somebody that wants to contribute, and create something that they can, look back on and say, wow, that's the contribution I made. Even if it was just to a handful of people or a minimum viable audience.
And on that note, we should let Chazz give a little.
Yeah, let's kind of wrap up. Chazz, tell us a little bit more about, I know you gave a little teaser there, but tell us a little bit more about your gifts, your who you tend to help, and that invitation to have a chat with you and find out more, and get to know you as a person. So yeah, please.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. And I'm very thankful that I've met both of you and worked with both of you. So a lot of the work that I do is really centered on burnout, really ambitious professionals and entrepreneurs who've really succeeded in their sort of careers and their personal achievements, but they're feeling burnt out and unfulfilled. And emotionally drained. So my tagline is I help ambitious professionals build a life that feels as good as it looks. And I find that a lot of people have a beautiful life externally, but they're burnt out or emotionally drained inside. And I would have never been able to articulate all of this without going through the program with you both. Again, they are not paying me, for listeners. I'm being open and honest. I've done a ton of research on programs and things, and going through the program, what I said to myself was, I just need to download Jamie's and Mark's brain to my brain, because I knew that they had some really good stuff for the work that I was doing in terms of a coach and building a sustainable program. So that's the work that I do. My website is chazzscott.com, and I do a 90-day program on how to rise and reclaim out of burnout and to reclaim your life and your energy. And, the whole goal is to achieve a life that feels as good as it looks without guilt or overwhelm. So that's the work I do.
Love it. And thank you again. We're honored and so appreciate your kind words. And even though they were not requested, this was not a setup for a live testimonial or anything, but so we're so grateful for that, Chazz. And in the chat too, Jamie's put in that you'll see links to Chazz's website and to his LinkedIn profile. And you've now experienced, what we talk about in our philosophy and our beliefs. So no matter where you're hurting, no matter who's not listening to you, no matter how much you're hiding behind maybe an image that shows that it's all together, but inside, you're really feeling like there's more to life, and that you've come to the end of your rope maybe, or you're just curious about what more is there? How can I live more purposely? What's the next challenge for me? Reach out to Chazz, have that conversation, experience that experience of being heard, of listening, of somebody that is very skilled at that. And I promise you won't regret having that conversation with Chazz. It's a wonderful human being who is compassionate and thoughtful, and really, really practices what he preaches and talks the truth. So reach out to Chazz. You won't regret it. And also we'll kind of wrap and put a little plug in for us too. Every month, every 6 weeks, we do a workshop for coaches. It's kind of a primer. It's an introduction to, hey, what does that mean to create a coaching business? And this is a big thing that we see as a void in the marketplace. Is that, you know, a lot of coaches unfortunately kind of get sold this idea of, I'll get my certification, I'll hang out my shingle, open up my website, and then the world will be a path to my door. And it doesn't. And I think we believe, our whole core belief in this is that a lot of people, because we've all been trained this way, think that our role is to create a job for ourselves. So we focus on the price we're charging and the revenue we generate, and that's not the way to build a business. So what we do in 5 days is help you understand what are the core constructs of building a healthy coaching business. And a lot of what we talked about today, and Chazz has talked at length about it, is backing up. Revenue, it's cause and effect. Revenue is the effect. The cause is getting to know your audience, getting to know people, learning how to ask questions, and how to really build something in terms of a solution that the world is starving for. And that's what we go through in MAP, in the 5-day map, is help map out your business, help you map out your coach business, so you have something that's sustainable and that you enjoy and brings you joy in life, and also brings the world joy. So that's a little plug. You'll see it scrolling along the bottom. It's free. We do not charge. This is our give back, and our opportunity to contribute to our industry, and to show our belief in the fact that we think coaching is just at the cusp. It's barely begun. And I have a vision that, you know, a decade or a couple decades from now, everybody will have a coach in different areas of their life. You know, we all have grown up with sports coaches. You know, we know that one forever and ever. But what about all the other areas in your life where you could benefit from some coaching? So join us for MAP, and we'll talk about that.
Join us for MAP. It's in the, it's also, I put it in the comments section as well. And anybody who may be catching this as a replay, feel free to post your comments, questions. Mark and I monitor all of our platforms, so we will be happy to engage with you and answer any questions that you might have. So on that note, we wanted to keep it tight.
Chazz, are you still there? Yeah, you are. You were so static. I thought your camera had frozen.
Still here.
Just show us what a great listener you are. You're so intent. You're frozen listening.
All right, we're going to wrap here, and thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks, everyone.